Welcome back to Dion Talk. Do you own your own home? Would you like to own a rental? If you own your own home and you want to own a rental, I'm going to talk about a huge mistake that people make, and I'm going to ask you not to make this mistake. First, I have to point out that I was walking with my friend next to the Lady Washington here who didn't like my dad joke when I said that looks like that jet had a mastectomy. If you own your house, you probably have a lot of equity right now, especially if you've owned it for a few years. We've had so much appreciation in the last couple of years that most people have equity. So a lot of people are going to be thinking, if I want to buy a rental, I should use my equity. So not only am I going to say don't use your equity, I'm going to explain how you can use your equity, why you shouldn't, and what I did instead to get that first rental without using equity. I like to use the Emperor's New Groove as an example when I talk about equity. Think of that llama saying, no touchy, don't touch it. The ways people can touch their equity depend on your situation. Now I talk about my brother who has 10 paid off rentals, and he acquired most of them with the HELOC strategy, where he took out a home equity line of credit using the equity in his house like a credit card to buy rentals. But he didn't start that way. Before touching his home equity, he had 3 rentals. Well, 3 houses, a triplex, 1 property, 3 houses. But he did that before he touched his credit, his equity in his house. People say equity because they mean there's value in their house that doesn't have a mortgage against it. And what I think is you have the ability to add debt to an existing mortgage, existing asset. That's why I don't want you to do it. So a home equity line of credit is an option. And the reason it worked for my brother is because he ran a business and he had spiky income. You'd have a storm, you'd have insurance money, he'd make a bunch of money, he could pay off the HELOC quick. If you can't pay off a home equity line of credit before the rate would adjust, right? You might have a 2, a 5, a 10-year fixed rate home equity line of credit. Well, can you pay it off before that rate adjusts? Because there's no guarantee that interest rates aren't going to be 14 or 18% when it adjusts. So I wouldn't recommend using that strategy because unless you can pay it off, confidence in your ability to pay it off before the rate adjusts. The other way is in 2020, a lot of people did what are called cash out refinances. So they'd have a $500,000 house, they owe $200,000 on it. They take out a new mortgage at $400,000, paying off $200,000 on their mortgage, putting $200,000 in their pocket. Since the interest rate was half what it was before, their payment really didn't change much, but they now had $200,000 that they could take out and go buy a rental with. Or an RV, or take a trip, or do something stupid like go on a date. Nobody's got that much money. So the cash out refinance made sense because if you purchased your house in 2018 when interest rates were 6 or 7%, and then you refinance to 3%, that's a good impact on the debt that you have and the debt you're taking out. Is that the case now? Most of us refinanced in 2020 to that 3% interest rate. And now if we refinance to a cash out refinance, we're going to double or triple the interest rate we have on the existing debt. So instead of taking out a cash out refinance, if you can't do a home equity line of credit, pay it off in time before that rate adjusts, well, then I recommend doing a second mortgage. So you leave the existing debt alone. You take out another mortgage, which is in second position, so your interest rate's going to be a little higher, but it doesn't mess up the interest rate you have on your current mortgage. Whenever you touch your home equity, which I'm going to recommend you don't do, and I'm going to explain how I didn't do it, because I never have. No HELOCs, no cash out refinance, no second mortgages, no sell for 1031. Before you touch your equity, add debt to an existing asset, the goal is to make sure that you have a deal. Like, that there's a deal you're going to get. You know that the cash flow, the return, the math is going to work out. You know that the other aspects that actually matter more than math, aspects that help limit tenant turnover or make your short-term or mid-term rental attractive to enough people, whatever matches your strategy, you want to make sure that it's there and it's in place. And you have confidence that you're going to get that before you take out the home equity line of credit or the cash out refinance or the second, or you sell a property and redeploy the gains in a 1031 instead of paying taxes. But I don't recommend doing that because I started this video with, do you own a home and you want to buy a rental? I didn't say, do you have 10 rentals and you have experience and you know what you're going to get, you know what you're getting into, and now you can touch your equity with confidence that you're not going to have everything blow up in your face because you have the reserves, you have the experience, you have tenants in place, you have cash flow, you probably still have your job, you have the ability to add these rentals to your portfolio. But if you only own a house and you want to buy a rental because you heard of these other people who were 40, broke, single parent with 3 kids, not making a lot of money, and then by the time they were 52, I retired in 2022 and never have to work again. Since you hear that's possible, you think maybe I should buy a rental. Well, if you're thinking about it and you touch your equity in the beginning, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know if you like it. You don't know if you have the ability to find a lease, screen tenants, maintain a property. These are all skills you have to develop. Why put where you live at risk to learn these skills? Now, I would much prefer that you use the strategy that Josh and Mary, Martin Properties, did, right? Meet some people that have done it, learn from them, watch a ton of videos, move to another state where the numbers make sense, get jobs, save money, put a down payment on a duplex, move in and house hack. One of the best strategies there are. But in the case of this video, I'm talking about you own a house and you want to buy a rental. I'm talking about not touching your equity, not selling and losing that asset to get a rental. Here's what I did. Here's how I made it work. How I was able to get on the property ladder as an investor, not just a homeowner. I owned a home. Not only did I not have equity, so it wasn't an option, and I might have been uneducated and actually touched my equity at the time and made a bigger mistake. I was upside down because of the 2008 housing crash. I owed more money on my house than it was worth, so I couldn't even give it away, and I couldn't touch the equity. Nobody will do a HELOC for 120% of the loan value. So what I did is I moved from my house. Now, this is the question that I have before I tell you my strategy. What are you willing to do to reach financial freedom, to make work optional, to have a better future for you and your family? Here's what I was willing to do. Well, there were some sacrifices, right? There was 8 years with no vacations, 8 years with no streaming services, 8 years driving old vehicles. Like, that's something most people can say, oh, there's some level of gradation there that I'm willing to accept. But I moved from my house, right? I owned the house. Well, the bank owned it, and I owed them more than it was worth at the time. Don't worry, it's paid off now. It has a Section 8 tenant and paying me $3,000 a month. So that's a happy story, happy ending there. I moved my kids into an apartment with me. Would have been nice to just send them on their own. I don't think that's legal though. So we moved into an apartment and rented the house out. And that first year I messed up. This is why I don't want you to touch your equity. I lost $6,000 that first year as a homeowner renting my house out, living in an apartment. And I didn't lose it because of the math of renting an apartment. I mean, that house standalone by itself, I lost $6,000 because I made all of the mistakes. Right? I'm a new landlord. I can't trust a stranger, so I'll rent to a friend. I'm renting to a friend. Why? Who needs a lease? I'll do this with a handshake. He's a single parent. When the rent's late, I'll understand because I am too. And late became never. And when I went there and said, hey, why aren't you paying the rent? He didn't even live there. He moved out and rented it to someone else because he was smarter than me. Still a friend. We're still friends. It confuses some of my other friends, but if you're one of my friends, you know I say this often. Screw you. So, I lived in that apartment. Well, I lived in that one for a year, and then I moved into another one. Are those sea dogs or whales? Oh, it's a sea dog. I'll walk down by the sea dog. So, can't tell a whale from a sea dog. What's wrong with this boy? Moved into an apartment, and then they raised the rent because they don't use the binder strategy, which gets the tenants to raise the rent, and I moved into another apartment. So for 2 years, I rented my house out. Now, that first year, I did lose money. The second year, I made money. And then the second year, with tax returns that showed consistent rental income, even though I lost money that first year, I was then able to, in that same 2 years, save a down payment, buy a duplex where the lenders took the other, he's gonna go down because I'm being too loud. Oh, I scared him away. I'll turn around slowly and just keep talking because he'll probably come back up. We get these barking sea dogs out here that bark for hours. Instead of touching your equity, is it possible that you rent your house out, move into an apartment, move in with your parents, family, and get rental income on your tax returns? Because in that beginning stage, that first few years, when you really take the risks with where you live, Now, apply everything I've said in this video to your retirement account. I emptied my retirement account out. I purchased a triplex with it. I paid the taxes. I didn't care. But I already owned 5 rentals, and I had confidence in my ability to expect a certain return. And it looks like I scared them away because I'm too loud. That's sad. This was a nice short video done on my live where I can't actually see the comments. If you want your questions answered during the live stream, I do those every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. On the weekends and on Thursdays, I make these short videos for those people who would never click on a 2-hour video. And I hope everybody enjoyed the live stream that I took down. The first video that's the second video, that I've actually taken down off my channel that we had yesterday. It was fun.